Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today it's yet another video in my 2024 offseason prediction series. It's the Arizona Cardinals. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I love to see the subscriptions. It means so much to me, even though the subscription count may not be that high right now. It's super high in my eyes, and I love seeing those email notifications that I got more subscribers. And of course, like and comments, keep that discourse going in the comment section below. It helps push out this video to more people so that they can find this channel as well and hopefully find some enjoyment in it. And Arizona fans, you've been struggling to find enjoyment in a lot of things, haven't you? Now, you guys definitely somehow overachieved despite holding the 4th overall pick in the draft. You know, I had them as the worst team in the league in my off-season deep dive series. There you go. Jesus Christ, it's an early morning. And thank God I have Liquid IV. But Kyler Murray showed that he actually is the franchise quarterback of that team. They got by with Josh Dobbs quite a bit, snuck a win against Dallas, but they did blow a lot of wins, and I think that had to do with a lot of their defensive talent. I think Jonathan Gannon had a really underrated performance as the head coach, considering how much he got out of this roster that is just completely void of talent, especially on the defense side of the ball where he was brought in to improve. So I think now that he's got an assessment of what he's really working with on that side of the football, we're going to see some drastic changes there. And I think one of the biggest drastic changes will be what's the future of Budda Baker. We'll get to that. But there needs to be some improvements, man. There needs to be some improvements. But there were some interesting high points for some aspects of this team. Let's get to that. So like I said, they're going with second-year head coach Jonathan Gannon, former defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. And man, Eagles fans, like I said, hey, you might have hated them because, oh, what a terrible Super Bowl they had. Everyone has terrible games in the playoffs against Patrick Mahomes, no matter how great you are. So there is that. And I think that he showed this year that he does know how to get a team going, because for the lack of talent that they had, for them to have been in the games that they were in, they left like 2 or 3 wins also on the field this year just because they didn't have the talent. So, you add some good pieces here, and this team could quietly sneak up on you, I think, the way Seattle did last year. I think that Jonathan Gannon can be in a real position because you look at some of these offensive numbers. This is without Kyler Murray for most of the year. He got so much out of Josh Dobbs. But think about having Kyler Murray here healthy all season and being able to add talent to this roster, because they're in a position where they're not going to be losing any significant contributors really on either side of the ball. There weren't really significant contributors on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, the only one they really got to worry about bringing back is Hollywood Brown, which we'll get to, because I think he can be a good wide receiver. You got Michael Wilson from Stanford who was drafted last year. You're looking to step up. You got Rondale Moore. You're in a great position to add, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., which has been talked about ad nauseum, to come and be your true alpha number 1 receiver. But their offensive numbers are not that bad. Like, their rushing was great with James Conner for back-to-back years. They did not turn the football over. Like, them not turning over the ball and running it as well as they did, those are significant building blocks for this offense that a lot of people probably miss throughout the year until you actually see it. It's really getting the passing game going, and when you have a real quarterback back there with a real weapons group, a slightly improved offensive line. They did allow the 19th most sacks, but you get a smarter quarterback back there who's going to shorten plays, who's going to be able to run a lot better. Not taking anything away from Dobbs, but Kyler Murray's escapability is up there with the best. It's really one of his best features. So it's a really good building block here. The issue is the lack of talent on the defensive side of the football that Jonathan Gannon had to work with, because they were horrific in a lot of categories here. I would say most categories on defense. 31st in points allowed. They were 30th in pass touchdowns, last in rush yards allowed, second to last in total touchdowns allowed, last in third down percentage, third last in sacks, and they didn't force turnovers. That's just a lack of talent, to be honest. They drafted B.J. Ojolari and Garrett Williams last year, who they're hoping can be guys who can come in and step up for them and I anticipate that being the case. They are going to have to likely move on from their best defensive player, which we'll get to shortly. But this is where I think a lot of the focus needs to be, and I think that they're going to be a team that's going to be overpaying in free agency to lure some of the better free agents to this team, and we'll get to that eventually, to drastically improve these numbers in the short term, because the talent level is just not there, which I guess was anticipated, but it's really something that held this team back in those games that they gave away late, because they just didn't have the talent out there to sustain the leads that they were sneaking their way into having in the first 2.5, 3 quarters of some of those games. So you're going to look for Jonathan Gannon to get in the talent that he likes and to drastically improve this. And they're going to be able to do a lot of damage. They got $41.7 million in cap space, and I came up with a way for them to clear up even more cap space for them to be monster players in the offseason. And I think they're quietly going to be. And we're going to start with the big elephant in the room, and that's Budda Baker. There was talks about trading him all last offseason, all through until the trade deadline this year. I think that they will trade him. I think they'll trade him. They'll get a third-round pick, and they're going to get $14.6 million in cap savings. Now, why a third-round pick? It's because of that cap number. It's because of the cap number, and teams are going to be hesitant to give up more than that. And why would you trade him if you're only going to get a third-round pick? Well, because if you let him go to free agency and then you sign a big-time free agent, you don't get a comp pick for him. And so a lot of teams you'll see will move some of these big contracts, and if they only get a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick, that's sort of them making up for the comp pick that they wouldn't get because they also want to be active in free agency. And I think Arizona's going to want to be active in that sense. I'm also clearing up $29.5 million by restructuring Kyler Murray's contract. That's an easy decision here. Kyler Murray is the franchise quarterback for this team. It's well established. It's been said. This is how you commit to it further, free up all this cap space, and make some big moves. You can extend James Conner a 2-year, $16 million extension. He's been great. His age and his injury concerns are still going to be red flags out there. But in this running back market, to pay him $8 million a year, he's still up there with some of the highest paid backs in the league. So, it's a good extension. It's good for your squad. And then you're able to bring back Greg Dortch on the exclusive rights free agency tag, $985,000. Easy pick. He's a good little gadget player and a good backup for guys like Rondale Moore and for Hollywood Brown, who you're going to bring back as well. 3 years, $55 million deal, $20 million base salary, $35 million in the bonus 2 void years. Spread that cap hit out. So not a lot of moves have to get made here because they were so bad in so many aspects. And they didn't have a lot of their top players really looking to be free agents. So other than Budda Baker, you're not really taking a step back in any sense on either side of the football. And even then, the significance of getting that draft pick, getting that cap space, you can more than make up for what you're going to be missing in Budda Baker. So I've bumped this spending cap to $75.8 million. Now, they won't be able to spend all of this. They are a bad team, which means luring some free agents is going to be difficult. I look at them to get some veteran guys, like some maybe guys at 30 years, we'll get to that, and older, paying them big money that other teams might necessarily not pay them because of their age. But that's just what happens when you're a bad team. You have to do those things. And they do have needs. They need a wide receiver, which they can get at number 4 in the draft. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, I think that's pretty straightforward. I think that they could go for some interior offensive linemen. They got Paris Johnson. They got DJ Humphries as their 2 tackles. I would say moving forward, Paris Johnson did play some guard as well. But you drafted Paris Johnson to be a tackle long term. Defensive line, all of it. Just basically you need an entire new defense. Defensive line, linebacker, you need a new defense. You need to just add guys anywhere on the defense at this point. You don't have any true alpha on the defense. Just get good defensive players. And get good defensive players is what I'm aiming for. And I'm going to throw it. I talked about those guys that are 30 years of age or older, maybe overpaying for them a bit. nothing more significant than these first two guys. Start with Danielle Hunter. I'm giving him 3 years, $65 million with 2 void years, $35 million base, $30 million bonus. That's a great contract for Danielle Hunter. I don't know that he's going to get one I think he's 31 years old, 30 or 31 years old. So getting anything more than that in terms of years is going to be tough for teams to match. So I think they can swoop in here and be a real dark horse. Another one is Leonard Williams, who comes in. He can be your best interior defensive guy right out the gate. 3 years, $55 million deal with 2 void years. Sort of the same idea with Danielle Hunter. Obviously makes a little bit less being an interior guy. Then it's Steven Nelson coming off of that year in Houston. Give him 2 years, $25 million, 10 base, $15 million bonus. Throw another 2 void years on there. Got to use the void years to bring these veteran guys in. And then John Feliciano, who is having a great year with the 49ers. If you can lure him away, especially again with his age, you can lure him away. He's a center/guard. He can play either one for you. And he had a really great year again in San Francisco. How much of that was scheme? How much of that was ability? That's obviously up in the air, but you getting a veteran guy who has that type of capability, who worst case scenario is your 4th interior offensive lineman who can play all those positions, so it can make up for an injury for a game or two, and you're getting a good veteran presence. I think that's invaluable, but you're picking him up to be a starter because right now, other than Will Hernandez, he's going to be your best interior offensive lineman. So even with those big signings, you still got $40 million in cap. Now, the likelihood of them spending all that, I don't know. But it also allows you to do those 1 year, $10 million contracts, 1 year, $15 million contracts with those veteran players that are just looking to get on a team and make some money because they weren't picked up by maybe a better team or a better situation. So it does keep you open to be able to do that more towards training camp. So we did touch upon it. With that number 4 pick, you're taking Marvin Harrison Jr., and if he for some reason isn't there because he goes at number 3 to the Patriots, then you're just going to take Malik Neighbors, who is an amazing talent, who any other year would be wide receiver 1 and viewed as a top 5 pick, just based on his ability and his route running, his separation, all that. He is a great player, just completely overshadowed by Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think if you end up with either one of those guys, you're in great shape, and you've got that instant contributor rookie wide receiver 1 on your team. Then in the next round, I'm probably going to be looking for offensive line, and I'm going to be looking, again, defense. Take the best defensive player on the board, take the best offensive lineman, depending on what you do in free agency, of course. If you do the free agency the way I did it, maybe you prioritize that second round pick to be an offensive lineman, whoever the best offensive lineman is on the board at the time. Unless there's like a significantly better defensive player that maybe dropped a bit in the draft, like we saw it last year with Joey Porter Jr. If there's something like that, then take that guy. But I think the big focus outside of that first pick has to be get an offensive lineman who can come in and potentially start week 1, and then just throw everything else at the defense, man. Find some blue chip defensive players. Find guys that can enter into a rotation who you can use situationally, situation specialists, run stuffing specialists, edge setting specialists, zone coverage specialists, man-to-man cover specialists, and then you can mix guys in and just try to find some semblance of a top 25 defense even coming into next year, and that will significantly raise up the overall quality of the team. And there you have it, my 2024 offseason predictions video for the Arizona Cardinals. Make sure to like and comment if you haven't already, of course, and subscribe. Please and thank you. That would be absolutely amazing if you did. Tell me what you think of what I did with the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're in a position to make a lot of big moves. They're going to have to overpay a lot, but I figured out a way to give them all the money in the world to be able to do so. Here's some more videos from this series and a recommended video that the YouTube overlords think that you would really enjoy that I produced on this channel previously. And I will see you guys with the next video next time.